Okay.
Hey guys, Kevin Conan Bankens here. I am with Mr. Jack Autry. Jack, how are you today?
Good to see you, Kevin.
All right, great to be here.
As always, I am blessed. And to be in your presence, I've been more blessed.
Likewise. Mr. Autry, you've done Kenpo for years.
Yes.
How many years?
I actually started Kenpo in 1967.
Oh,
yes.
I was born in 69.
Next year. Your whole life, I've been doing Kenpo.
Yeah, okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So 1967, I started, and how it happened, I was an athlete in school. I played football, baseball, ran track, shot put. And then I got out of college and I'm not doing anything.
Okay.
And I'm in West LA and I'm driving down Sepulveda Boulevard and I'm looking at this sign and it says Kenpo Karate. What? I don't know what karate is.
Karate.
1967.
Yeah.
Nobody knows Bruce Lee. Nobody
Yeah.
knows Chuck Norris. Nobody knows Ed Parker.
Thank you, yeah.
So I pull in, I think it's a Japanese food or something, right? So I pull into the parking lot, and by some streak of luck, Ed Parker's sitting behind the desk. He's there that particular day for whatever reason, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I walk in there and I said, "Excuse me, sir, what is this karate stuff?"
Yeah.
He says, Jack, he says, "You're a pretty big guy. You ever been in a fight?" And I said, "I was born in the projects in Buffalo, New York, and then I moved to El Monte, California.
Yeah.
I've been in several fights."
Yeah.
He says, "Have you done well the last few fights?" And I think about it and I go, "Well, yeah, I guess I've done okay. I'm sitting here."
Yeah.
And he says, "Well, I'll tell you what, take off your shoes and come with me on the mat and I'll show you what Kenpo is."
All right.
I'm so friggin' naive. I don't know who this guy is.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm getting into. I take off my shoes. I walk on the mat. And he says, "Now I want you to hit me." With all due respect, sir, he's 11 years my senior, to put it all in perspective. So I was about 26. He was about 37, whatever. And so he said, "I want you to hit me." "You want me to hit you?" He said, "Yeah, just throw a right hand punch right in my face." I said, "Really?" So I throw a halfway punch and he catches it. He catches it and he pushes it back.
Yeah.
And he says, "My mother hits harder than that."
Oh.
We're going to play this, are we? So I wind up like John Wayne, right? And I throw him this thing on the left field and I throw this punch at him. Now I'm throwing hard. I throw that thing and the next thing I know, Kevin, I'm looking up at the ceiling and bam,
Boom.
boom, I'm on my back and he's over my face ready to punch it. And I go, "What was that? No one has ever done that to me in my life." He said, "That's Kenpo Karate." And I said, "Where do I sign?" And he gave me his hand and he helped me up, and that started my career.
Wow.
Ed Parker's introduction to me, 1967, and that started this 57-year-long career in the martial arts. Yeah, and I'll never forget that. I mean, that guy was the fastest and the strongest punching guy, close to Tom Kelly. I mean, Tom Kelly, I don't know if you knew Tom Kelly.
No.
Tom Kelly was my freestyling instructor. Tom Kelly was a Marine, 6'3". When we won the California State Karate Championships in 1972, he took first place as a heavyweight black. I took first place as a heavyweight brown. I weighed 215 pounds. He weighed 315 pounds and could kick you upside the head before you could block it.
Little guy. Yeah.
Oh, and so when you spar with somebody like that 2 or 3 times a week, a few years, nobody intimidates me.
Right.
I should know better, but I don't.
Sure.
So that started my career with Ed Parker. What else can I tell you?
Yeah. So my next question was, how did you meet Ed Parker? Well, we know that.
That's some up.
What was Kenpo like in those days? In
Okay.
the early days.
Okay,
of
the
Kenpo?
early days in 1967, we did not have colored belts.
Mm-hmm.
You put on a white belt, and as you progressed, you learned techniques, you did some katas and whatever, and you get a black hash mark. So I had been in the system about a year and a half. I got my white belt with 2 stripes on it, and Ed Parker walks into the dojo and he calls me off the mat and he says, "Jack, come here." I said, "Yes, sir, what can I do for you?" He says, "I got a favor to ask of you, Jack." And I go, "Okay."
Yeah.
You never know what it's going to be, right?
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, I've been working on this new system. Yellow, orange, purple, blue, brown, 3 degrees of brown, and blah, 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 blah." And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I would like you to start over."
Oh,
What do you say to Ed Parker? I said, yes, sir.
Sure.
And so it took me from 67 to 1974 to become a black belt because I had to start all over again. So that's what it was like in the beginning. White belts, hash marks, no journals, no books, no anything.
Yeah.
And so one of the things he had me do when I tested for my orange belt, he said, Jack, I'm going to ask you to do something a little different. And I said, yes, sir. He says, you know all the techniques, you know your katas, you know your basics. Yes, sir, I got it wired. He said, what I want you to do now is write the name of the technique and describe it 100% completely. Every hand move, every angle change, everything that's involved in that, I want you to explain it to me. So my test for orange belt, I had to write down all of the techniques and describe exactly what I was doing, what it was for. Is it for a punch? What is it for?
Yeah.
You know, that I had to do that to get my orange belt.
Wow.
So I don't know if he was just kind of picking on me because he loved me, but I don't know. But that's what it was like in the old days, in the beginning of this thing.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
So then I grew with him because Ed Parker continued to evolve the art until the day he died, which was December 15th, 1990. And down the road, I'll tell you more about that day because I was with him that whole last day of his life.
Wow.
A lot of things, a lot of stories to share with you.
Sure.
So what's the next one I can answer for you?
Just off the wall, real quick. How big was the school there?
Okay, it was the West LA school. Okay, it was
West LA. Okay.
Yeah, we called it West LA or Santa Monica School.
Okay.
Because it
Oh,
was
okay.
Yeah, those are two in the same.
Gotcha.
And the mat area was pretty good size. I would say it was about 24 by 24. And then we had a couple small private rooms in the back, but guys like you and I couldn't do anything in a private room.
Right.
So it was very, compact, and it grew like crazy because nobody knew what it was. But people would ask me, what are you doing, Jack? You're not playing ball anymore. And I said, well, let me show you 5 swords. What's 5 swords?
Yeah.
And I would show them what I'm learning and where can I do this? And I said, well, come on down. Come on down. So that's how it was, all mainly word of mouth.
Okay.
I don't remember Ed doing any advertising per se, other than a big sign on the school. And it was all word of mouth. And in the beginning, we didn't have women and we did not have kids. None.
They would have died.
It was yeah, well, that's what happened. So we finally realized that the financial success of any karate school anywhere are the kids. And when the parents see what we're doing with the kids and how we're teaching these kids how to have confidence and how discipline, because it's discipline.
Sure.
And my name is not Jack, it's Mr. Autry. And you will say yes sir and no sir, and that's the way it's going to be. I would have parents come up to me, how do you make my kid do that? I said, well, I don't know, maybe it's all this rank hanging on my belt, or maybe it's my voice, but it's they know what I say I mean.
Right.
Make your yeses mean yes and your no's mean no, and in this dojo, that's the way it is. Right. Well, we like the results. We just can't get them to do it at home.
Right.
Well, that's the idea, and eventually they will.
Right.
Because when they're going to learn the respect that comes as being a martial artist, their whole facade's going to change.
Sure.
And you will see it.
Sure.
And as we go through this path, and I had students who were with me 5 years, 10 years, and the parents would come up and say, now I know what you mean. He's a different kid. Different kid.
Different structure.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that's what you do. You change lives.
Sure.
And it's like, I was saying something the other day. I was doing a little speech somewhere. I don't even remember where. And I said, how is this world today a better and safer place because you have been in it? Do something for somebody else today.
Nice.
Amen.
Yeah.
So what a way to live life, right?
Right.
What a way. Give. And so that's one of the many, many, many things I learned from Ed Parker, to evolve from the tiger to the dragon. I mean, that tiger is that physical strength that you and I just love.
Yeah.
But remember, a dragon will always beat a tiger because not only does he have the tiger strength, but he's got the wisdom. the knowledge that goes along with it.
Right.
And you can't beat that.
That's the warrior and scholar.
Well, the warrior and the scholar, yeah. In our patch, we got the dragon on the top, the tiger on the bottom for a reason.
Right.
That whole thing was designed with so much thought in it, and that's why I wear the original patch, and that thing's never coming out. You know the gi that you see me in Las Vegas?
Yes.
I've been wearing that gi. Ed's been dead for 33 years, and I wore it 5 years before he died.
Wow.
So my gi's almost 40 years old.
Yeah.
And it still fights.
Yeah.
It's just me that can't keep up with the gi.
The gi can still go.
The gi can do it. The gi can still do the splits, but this old body doesn't do it so well.
If you don't mind me, how old are you now?
Okay. I don't mind you asking. I mean, I have kids way older than you, for sure. But my next birthday, I will be 82 years old. 82.
Right, wow.
Still kicking.
You still look phenomenal. I know you still go to the gym. It's obvious.
Yeah, well,
there's no doubt.
It's kind of like my therapy.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't want to get into any confrontations in the street anymore.
Sure.
And so that's kind of my way out. If I got any kind of anger issues, which, believe it or not, I may have one or two.
Sure.
But so that's my way out. And it's a psychological recovery for me. And I love to sweat and I love to work out. You know, I'm preaching to the choir.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm preaching to the choir, to you, man.
Absolutely.
So you know, it gets in your blood, and it's there.
Yes, sir.
And I thank the Lord that at my age I can still do what I do.
Absolutely.
And you know, these young guys in the gym, they see me, I'm doing whatever, I'm doing curls or something. And so they come up to me and they say, "That guy over there said you're over 80 years old. Is that true?" I says, "Yeah, it is."
Yeah, it is.
Well, they says, "You know what? I still wouldn't mess with you." so that helps the old ego, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So next birthday, 82 years old.
82.
Yeah, I'm blessed.
I want to be at that birthday.
I hope. Yes, you will.
I want to be there.
You'll be there.
Absolutely. So, and if this is okay for me to ask,
Sure.
I know Kenpo, since Mr. Parker has died.
Yes.
There was seems like now I'm looking from the outside in.
I got it.
You guys are the gurus.
Yeah,
I'm just learning about it. But
Yeah.
it seemed like there was a push for who was going to take over. It looked like there was a push for that. And what do you say to that?
Well,
what do you? I know you were in that so deep.
I was right in the middle of it, and I understand the egos. What Ed Parker did not do, well, of course, nobody expected Ed Parker to die at 59 years old. Right. You're 54?
54,
59 years old. He died.
He did, yeah.
So he never put an organization together. He never put somebody in position 2, 3, 4, 5, which is one of the things I like about Jeff Speakman. When Jeff had his cancer scare, and believe me, when you have cancer, you think about death.
Sure.
So he is a much different person today, and that's the reason I see him structuring Kenpo 5.0, where we have now an 8th degree, a 7th, and a 6th and 5th, and he's got that all put in place. So I think Jeff realizes, God forbid, something happens to him, 5.0 is going to not miss a beat, and you're not going to have all that stuff that happened when Ed Parker left us, because there was so many people with these bigger egos than their bodies thought they were, and they were not.
Right.
I mean, I was very close to Ed Parker. I mean, I spent 23 years with him, and so I learned a lot from him. And when Ed Parker tells you know what, Jack, so many of my guys don't get it. I said, what do you mean they don't get it, Ed? They've never evolved from the tiger to the dragon. He's guys like you, Jack, get it. But so many of them don't. And so I sat on the boards next to Ed Parker. We promoted Jeff Speakman to first black, second black, third black, and I'm sitting there next to Ed Parker doing all this. And so I've seen how he's reacted to on different boards. And I remember we went to a test somewhere, I don't even know where it was, in Northern California. And there was a student there that should not have been in front of us. And I thought, what's Ed Parker going to do? I mean, this kid should have failed. And I'm thinking in my mind, what's going to happen? So we go to the test, we watch it, then we all go in the room to talk, right? And Ed Parker says to the kid's instructor, he said, that student is not going to fail today, but you, as his instructor, will. So if you think I'm going to come in here and fail him in front of his family and his peers, you're wrong. I'm not going to be the bad guy for you. You just overtrain him, because the next time he's in front of me, and I will remember this, he said he will be so over-prepared for his next belt promotion, and that's on you.
That's your job.
That's your job, son.
Yeah.
And I'm going, oh, I learned another lesson.
Right.
I mean, so think about how profound is that?
Yeah.
You don't embarrass him. You know, I was his student for all those years, and so whenever I would do something stupid, I mean, just dumb, and you know what? How he would correct me? I'm in front of a whole bunch of black belts, and I do something wrong, and he first thing he would say, he said, Autry, that was so good. I can't believe how you did that technique. But have you ever thought about doing it like this? And then I go, oh, you mean the right way? But see, he never embarrassed you.
Yeah.
And so if you were in a class with Ed Parker, there are two things for sure. Number one, you're going to have a good time, because he likes to entertain people. He's got stories all over the place. And you were going to work hard and learn something. Have fun and learn. And he said, guys, as instructors, if you can leave your students with having a good time but want to come back again the next time, you have succeeded as an instructor. Right. Just another phase of it. Mm-hmm. So many lessons I've learned from him. You know?
Yeah. I personally didn't know him, but I'm very good friends with so many of his students, including yourself. You know now, and I just hear everybody just rave about the intelligence of the man.
He was off the chart, and how he moved. I mean, Bruce Lee was fast, but he only weighed 135 pounds. Right. Ed Parker was fast and weighed about 240 pounds or whatever he weighed. I don't even know. When I was fighting, you can relate to this. I fought internationally for 7 years. I was 230 pounds with 10% body fat. Yeah. And I was afraid if I got bigger, I'd lose my flexibility and my speed. But I had a good coach at Gold's Gym in Venice, training next to Arnold and all those guys. And so he said, no, Jack, we're going to build this muscle. I was 185. I went from 185 to 230 in 2 years. With no steroids.
Wow.
Only B complex shots, right?
Yeah.
And so I was pushing it, 6 days a week. And but he said, I was so afraid I was going to lose my speed, my flexibility, my timing. He said, Jack, you just keep doing what you're doing in the martial arts, and I'm going to make you bigger. So every time you get in a fight circuit, you fight the same guys every few months. And so these guys would look at me and they say, are you getting bigger? I said, no, my gi's shrinking. Yeah. So from 185 to 230, that's huge.
Yeah,
that's
huge.
That's huge. Yeah. And he was so right. My flexibility was there, but my speed improved and my power was off the chart. Yeah. I was kicking like a friggin' mule, and I was punching. I remember Bruce Lee trying to show me, his 1-inch punch.
Right.
Boom.
Sure.
And so I'm standing next to Bruce Lee, and he said, Jack, I want to show you this punch. And I said, oh, okay. And he says that exact same thing to me. He says, Jack, I weigh 135, you weigh 230.
Yeah.
Almost 100 pounds more than me. So once you learn the technique, and it's all about technique. Once you learn this technique, Jack, who do you think is going to hit harder? Bruce Lee at 135 or Jack Autry at 230? Yeah. That's something to think about. I must have thrown that punch thousands of times. It's like I'd be doing it, and he'd just go, he wouldn't say a word, he'd go, back in the room. Yeah. So anyway, I've been so blessed to have those kind of instructors, and I worked out with Joe Louis.
Yeah.
Joe Louis had already won the grand champion 3 years in a row, and he's looking for a training partner, and I'm only a brown belt. And my cousin, Lincoln Conti, is good friends with Joe Louis, and he says, hey, Jack, Louis needs somebody to work out with this Saturday. Do you want to go to John Natividad School in Culver City? Yeah. And I said, and work out with Joe Louis? Yeah, I'm there. Yeah. So I show up. As I get to the dojo first, John Natividad's leaving, and he's handing me the keys. And I said, where are you going, John? Aren't you going to work out with Joe Louis and me? And Chuck Norris was supposed to show up. Darnell Garcia was supposed to show up. Big fighters, right? And he says, when you guys are done, lock the door and throw the keys in the mailbox. I got to go. So John Natividad leaves me with the school, and then in comes Joe Louis. And I'm going, oh, man. What do I know? I'm just this punk brown belt that think I'm somebody, right? So Joe Louis comes in. He says, where's Chuck Norris? I say, he's not here. What about Garcia? He's not here. What about, where's Natividad? This is his school. It's just me, Joe.
Me and you.
And he goes, okay, hold the heavy bag, Jack. So I'm holding the bag. He raises up to do a left roundhouse kick, and he does 100 kicks and never puts his foot on the ground.
Wow.
And I go, I'm in big doo-doo today.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then he does the right leg, and he throws 100 kicks, never puts it down. He just wacko, wacko, wacko.
Yeah.
And I'm going,
He was a powerful guy, right?
oh my
Yeah.
gosh, man. It's just another story is coming to my mind, so I'm doing that. So anyway, we train, and then it's okay, it's time to move a little bit, Jack. And you know he's going to throw shuffle side kick and a back knuckle. Boom, kick, kick, boom. You know it's coming. And there was not a thing I could do. I knew what he was going to do, and there was nothing I could do with that back knuckle, right? So the next day, or Monday, Ed Parker says, how'd your workout go with Lewis? I said, well, we really trained hard. I can see why he's a world-class champion, but how in the world do you beat that back fist? He says, you don't beat it, you meet it. I said, what do you mean by that, Jack? He said, before he throws that, you're gonna see just a bit hesitate.
Yeah.
Boom, that's gonna go first.
Yeah.
And as soon as that does, you just throw an extended outward block as fast as you can. You don't even have to close your eyes.
Yeah.
And I said, really? He says, yeah, you can't beat it, you can meet it. And I said, okay, we're gonna do it next Saturday. So next Saturday we show up, we go through kicking the bag and punches and all that stuff. And then it's time to spar, right? And I know what's coming, and I go, well, okay, Ed Parker. So he throws it, and I did it. I just went, boom! I mean, as fast and as hard as I could, and I blocked it. And I thought the guy was gonna kill me. It's like, but I stopped it. And so we did it again. We did it, and I stopped it again. And you can see he's thinking.
Yeah.
He says, "How in the heck is this brown belt stopping that?" So I did it 3 times in a row, and then I go, "You know what, Joe? I got to go."
Time to leave.
Yeah, time to go. So Ed Parker's okay. So how did it go? I said, "It worked, Ed.
Okay.
It worked. I never would have believed it.
Yeah.
You can't beat it.
Yeah.
You can meet it."
That's great advice.
Oh my! And I never
I'm gonna
forgot
steal
about
that
it.
from you.
It's yours.
I like that.
If I said it, it's yours.
Yes, sir.
Man. Oh,
Thank you.
and it worked. It worked.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, because what's faster, action or reaction?
Right, action.
Yeah,
Sure.
you can't.
Yeah.
So when stuff goes down, I'm not going to hesitate. I'm coming all over you.
There you
You know,
go.
in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And especially at my age now, I can't go round and round in the street with these 20-year-old
get it over.
punks.
Yeah.
That's why I carry a gun.
There you go. Me too. Me, you both.
24/7, man. Even in the gym, it's in my bag.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm with it. I'm with it.
Church, it's on my body. Anyway,
Yeah.
enough of that. Sorry.
Yeah. So you mentioned Jeff Speakman, who we're both very good friends with.
Yeah.
I think a lot of Mr. Speakman.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a very good friend of mine, and I know you've had a long past with him as well. And you were a black belt, I think,
When Jeff Speakman started Kenpo, I was a 3rd degree black belt.
Wow.
So he walked in as a white belt, and I was a 3rd black.
Oh, man.
So he was looking up like, I wasn't quite as old then, but
Yeah.
that was 1983 to be exact. He started Kenpo in 1983. Okay. And so we became really good friends, and I witnessed how he was treated by one of the black belts. I won't use any names because if it's a negative content, I don't need to do that. But I saw how one of the instructors there, the guy who was running the school, had 0 control. And he would call Jeff Speakman out and do a technique on him. And it gave me goosebumps because there was no effort of control whatsoever.
Yeah.
He would rack him.
Wow.
And so anyway, so Jeff and I, back to Jeff Speakman. So I got really close with Jeff. And so you were going to ask some
Yeah.
question.
So if you don't want to, that's okay.
Go ahead.
But I want to ask this question.
Yeah.
What do you think about what he's done with Kenpo 5.0, trying to put in the groundwork? Because I know there's probably been some riff about that.
Yes.
And I've always supported him with it. I know you have.
Great question. One of the things, Ed Parker evolved till the day he died. And if you read some of his writings, he will tell you, when I'm gone, do not traditionalize my art. Continue to evolve it, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So when he died in 1990, the Gracie brothers were nowhere to be seen. They came aboard about 95, 96, but they changed the MMA arena.
Yeah,
Okay.
93.
Yeah, was it 1993?
93.
Yeah, whenever it was. Okay. So I know for a fact, in fact, Jeff asked me that very question. Jack Autry, what do you think Mr. Parker would think about what I'm doing, taking Kenpo to the ground? And a lot of other modifications he's done on the way. And I said, I know for a fact, if Ed Parker was here today, Kenpo Karate would be on the ground. I know it for a fact.
It'll change with the times.
Yeah, you got to roll with it. You got to roll with it, man. You just, why, when he left the Hawaii and he came to the mainland, why did he change what he learned from Professor Chow? He changed it because what worked in the streets there did not work in the streets in LA. Did not. So he modified it, and he continued to modify it until the day. The good thing about me is I started in the beginning, and then I watched all the transitions, the colored belts, and then the extensions, and so I was privy to all of that stuff. And so so I my hat's off to Jeff Speakman because he's done more than anybody, and he's built, between him and John Sepulveda, those two gentlemen have built the largest Kenpo organizations in the world. In the world. I mean, they're bigger than Ed Parker was when he died. And it's just mushroomed in it. So Jeff knows this. I support Jeff 100%. What he's done for Kenpo is just exactly what Ed Parker would want him to do. Wow. And that's a fact.
Yeah.
That's from the horse's mouth.
Man.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. No, I've supported him with the whole thing, and I'm glad he saw that vision. Of what it needed, what Kenpo did need, and to evolve it.
Yes. Well, when MMA went to the ground, it was all over, man. You looked and go, oh my God, what are you going to do with that? They get us to the ground, So he was right on the money, and it's hard because you mentioned some of the original black belts did not follow suit, and we all know that this is a very ego-driven sport,
Sure.
And so, but think about it. If you've been running a school for 50 years this way, and then someone comes in and says, what you're doing is wrong, and this is what your guys need to do, and I'm doing, it's not going to go over well. And so it didn't. It didn't.
Right.
But because I didn't have a school, I was kind of in the middle, and I was a personal friend of Ed Parker's, and business associate of his. So I wasn't in that category. And today I'm very thankful I wasn't.
Sure,
I didn't want to be competitive in running schools. Ed Parker, once I became a third, are we okay?
Oh, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
So once I made a third degree, because as a third, you can open up your own school. And so Ed comes up to me and he says, Jack, now that you're a third, he says, how would you like to open up a karate school? And so I go, God, Ed, I love it. I would love to do that. And I don't know what dollars are. And I said, well, how long would it take me to make net $100,000 a year with one school? And he looked at me and he said, one school? And I went, and I can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a construction company. It wasn't monstrous, but I had about 60 employees. So I was making pretty good money, way over $100,000 a year. But I said, Ed, I can't afford to take the cut and pay, but I'll never quit. I'm going to do this till the day I die. Which I almost have.
Still do it. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Anything else that you can share with us about those early days, your relationship with Mr. Parker?
I think something that people don't know about, and it might be news to people, his last day, December 15th, 1990, I spent that whole day with him, which was his last day on the mat. And it was a Saturday, and we were in West LA school, and we were doing seminars for the kids class. My kids class was about 20 kids, whatever. And so two of my little boys were in that class. Angelo was 5, and Anthony was 8. And they were in that class, and Ed Parker says, okay, Jack, you're going to be my dummy. I said, yeah, that's like I always am. I'm the biggest dummy out there. And he said, we're going to do 5 swords. And I said, okay. So says we get the kids out there, everybody's watching him. Okay, now Jack Autry's going to throw a right punch to me, and you guys watch what I do. So I throw the right punch. He does the double block, and then I'm expecting that right hand sword. Bam! Right. No, I got a back fist. Boom! Right to my mouth, and it split my lip on the inside, and the blood's gushing back into my mouth. Thank God it was cut on the inside. And I'm drinking the blood, and Ed goes, sorry, Jack. But that's the moment I knew he was not okay. He was not okay. He had never done that to me in all the years of being his dummy. I mean, I'm at his, in some of the magazines, I'm at the dummy he chose. And so after we did this is how humble the man was. After we finished the seminar, well, before we finished it, he had Angelo and Anthony come up to him and take off your belts and sign it. So Anthony's purple belt, he signs Ed Parker, gives him
You
the
showed
belt.
me those belts.
Yeah, I just showed you the belts in it. So I still
Yeah.
have those belts, and that's
wow.
33 years they've been in my safe, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So that was a good thing. But the point I was making, how humble he is that after we closed the class, and then he went over to a bench right off the mat area, and he sat down. Now I'm just this dumb little 5th degree black belt, and I walk up there, and he looks up at me, and he says, "Jack, how did I do? Did the kids like it?" So humble. There he is, senior grandmaster, the day he died, and how did I do, Jack? And he's asking me how he did. So from there, it was December 15th, and one of the parents had a Christmas party. And they said, "Would you and Mr. Parker like to come to our house for a little Christmas party?" So Ed, you run and go, "Yeah, let's go over there." So we go there, and I remember he's eating this great big bowl of chili. And that might have been the last meal he had ever. But anyway, he's eating this chili, and he says, "You know what, Jack?" I said, "Ed, I'm really worried about you. You hit me today. You've never done that before. Never." And he said, "Oh, I know, Jack. I'm just a little bit tired, but I'm going home. I'm going home tonight. I'm going back to Hawaii. I'm going to spend 2 weeks there. I'm going to charge my batteries. I'll come back 2 weeks good as new." But he says, "I got this weird feeling." And I said, "What's that, Ed?" He said, "Well, you know, my mom's getting up there in age." And he said, "I just have this feeling I'm not going to see her anymore." And the truth is, he never did.
him.
He died at the airport.
Yeah.
He never saw his mom, but it wasn't his mom going, it was him going. Yeah. So at that point, Randy Streeter, I don't know if you know of Randy. Randy Streeter and I walked him out to his little car. Randy shook his hand and said, "You know, have a safe trip, Ed." And I gave him a bear hug. If you know me, I bear hug.
Absolutely. Love the hugs.
Yeah. So I'm hugging him, and I said something to him I've never said before. And to this day, I don't know where it came from. But I'm hugging him, and I said, "Godspeed, Ed." And he pulled his head back, and he looked at me, and he said, "Well, thank you, Jack." Because he always told me, when it's my turn to go, my time to go, I'm going to go now.
Right there.
Boom. I don't want to be a problem to my family, my kids, my wife. I want him to just take me. And he did.
Wow.
And I don't know where that came from, friend. I just have no idea.
Yeah.
So those are some of the feelings that you get. Yeah, with him. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a journey.
Yeah.
What a journey.
And it's still journeying. It's still going on.
And you know what fascinates me? Every time we sit down and talk, and that's, you know, I just get more of the story. You know, every time we sit down and talk, I just get so much more of the story.
Well, there's so many of them.
Yeah.
I mean, as we're talking, I'm thinking about one bizarre. I'll share you one bizarre story with Ed Parker.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm the anchor man on a 5-man black belt fighting team, right? Which means I fight last.
Okay.
Which means I'm either really ahead or I'm really behind. Either way,
I got the points and we don't.
Yeah. So we're getting on we got on an airplane in LAX, and we're flying up to Oakland, and there's some college team up there that wants to fight us, right? So Ed says, how do you feel about that, Jack? Man, are you kidding? A fight? Let's go.
Yeah.
So we're flying up there in the airplane, and he's not talking at all about the tournament. And I go, "Oh, okay." So we land, and we get this mini bus. It takes us to this big convention center, right? We're out in the parking lot getting ready to go in, and this female reporter comes out, and I'm going, "Oh, she wants to interview Ed, right?"
Yes.
And I said, "That's Ed Parker over there." And he said, she says, "Well, who's Jack Autry?" I said, "Well, that's me, but that's Ed."
Yeah.
And she says, "I got a question for you." I said, "Okay, what's that?" She said, "How do you feel about this full contact karate tournament you're going to fight in tonight?" And I looked at Ed Parker, and he goes, "Oh, yeah, Jack. I forgot to tell you. That's a true story."
No way.
Yeah. First time my hands were ever wrapped up, wrapped up. I said, "You mean I can hit him?" He said, "Yep.
Full contact.
Full contact." that was my introduction to full contact. I forgot to tell you, Jack. And I looked at my team and they go, well, let's go, man.
Let's go.
Yeah. But that's a typical
Yeah.
Ed Parker stuff, because he knew we weren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And we were there to fight, man.
Sure,
We
sure.
wouldn't care.
Yeah.
You know, so that just means I could hit somebody, because, you know, it was all that non-contact
Right.
stuff, you know.
It was points.
Yeah, point fighting. And Joe Louis called it tag you're it.
Right.
You know.
And Joe Louis, if I'm right, Joe Louis had a big part of making kickboxing, if I'm right, kickboxing.
Absolutely,
And
because
so did Benny Ortiz, correct?
yes,
All right.
both of those guys did.
Yeah.
And then when Bruce Lee did a demo, well, he did a demo in 1963 at the International.
Long Beach.
Yeah, and Joe Louis was there watching it, and he called Joe Louis out of the guests, and he says, "Come up here." He said, "This guy's standing there, and he's got a little body bag, and he's holding the bag here." And he said, "Joe, you hit this guy as hard as you can."
I've seen those pictures.
Well, you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen
And
pictures
Joe
of that.
does it, boom,
Yeah.
corkscrew punch, and
Yeah.
guy goes back, you know, a couple feet.
Yeah.
And Bruce says, "God, that was good, right?" And then Bruce does this
Yeah.
one, right?
Boom.
And the guy slides back about 20 feet
Yeah.
in a chair.
I saw that.
Yeah, well, that changed Joe Louis's mindset. He said, "I've never seen anybody do that." And so he started with Bruce Lee then. And he said, "I need to know what you're doing. This is beyond this. I want to get into full contact, because this point fighting doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
These guys that think they beat me doing that, that's BS." And so that's when Joe went off sideways a little bit. But man, he was such a competitor. Oh
he was.
my God.
Powerful man.
Oh,
Powerful man.
you know, he was Mr. I forget where did he come from? Nebraska or Tennessee or one of those Oklahoma City, maybe, I don't know. But he was a Mr. that state physically.
Okay.
So he was a bodybuilder.
Bodybuilder as
He was a
well.
bodybuilder,
Yeah.
but not unbelievably
I didn't know that.
huge. Yeah. He
Okay.
was a
Oh, okay.
bodybuilder
Okay.
before he got into martial arts.
Interesting.
And he got a black belt in 7 or 8 months. And the whole karate industry's going, how's this new kid come along and get a black belt? Just spar with him and you'll see.
You'll know. Yeah.
You'll know. You'll know in a hurry.
Interesting.
Oh yeah. So I've just been so blessed, man. Just so many
Yeah.
good moments. And as we're talking, more come, but I know this is probably enough for one one sitting.
Yeah, well, thanks for allowing me to come in your home,
Of course.
beautiful home you
Of
got
course.
here, and pick your brain a little bit. And
There's
I
not-
just love hanging. Me and you hang out. I just love hanging out with you, and
Well,
I just want to kind of do a sit down interview with you and pick
Wow.
your brain a little bit. You know.
You're one of those guys that Ed Parker would say, "You got it."
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it more than you know. I love you.
Okay. Love you too. All right. Thank you. Thank you, brother.
Excellent.